The courtroom is silent. The judge lifts the gavel, his eyes fixed on the old man standing in chains. The sound of wood about to strike echoes in everyone's imagination. And in that frozen moment, the old man closes his eyes, whispering, "God, if this is the end, let it be swift." Before we continue, if you're watching for the first time, Elliot Stories welcomes you with a warm hug. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and tell us the city you're watching from. The old man's name is Joseph Carter. For 2 decades he carried the weight of a sentence he swore he didn't deserve. For 2 decades he carried the scars of betrayal, racism, and silence. And now, with one strike of a gavel, his entire life was about to vanish into darkness. But 20 years ago, things were different. Back then, Joseph wasn't in a courtroom. He was in a crumbling apartment building on the east side of town. A stormy night. 2 kids. Pale, shivering, no shoes and no place to go. A boy and his sister. White, frightened, and abandoned. Joseph looked at them, his hands still rough from the factory he had worked all day, and he knew he couldn't walk away. "Sir, we don't have anywhere," the little boy whispered. His sister clung to him, eyes wide. Joseph could have turned them away. He could have closed the door and said, "Not my problem." But instead, he bent down, touched their shoulders gently, and said the words that would change everything. "Come inside, children. You're safe here." And from that night, Joseph became their shelter, their guardian, their father in every way that mattered. But the world didn't see it that way. The neighbors whispered. They stared when Joseph walked down the street with 2 white children holding his hands. One woman hissed under her breath, "Who does he think he is? That ain't right." Another spat on the ground, muttering, "Shouldn't be allowed." But Joseph never let go of the kids. He fed them, clothed them, worked extra shifts to keep them in school. He told them stories at night when they were too scared to sleep. Stories about courage, about love, about hope. And still, the world fought back. One day, as Joseph picked the kids up from school, a man in a sheriff's uniform leaned on his car. "These yours?" he asked with a smirk. "They're under my care," Joseph replied firmly. The sheriff spat tobacco juice on the ground. "Don't look right. A black man raising white kids. Folks don't like it. Watch yourself, Carter." And Joseph did watch. But no matter how careful he was, trouble came. Came one night when the kids were teenagers. Police lights flashed outside the apartment. Joseph opened the door, confused. Officers shoved him aside, searched the house, tore through drawers. "What's going on?" Joseph demanded. "You're under arrest," one officer barked. "For what?" But they didn't answer. They just dragged him out into the street while the kids screamed, "Leave him alone. He didn't do anything." The charge. A robbery he never committed. Evidence planted. Witnesses coerced. Joseph was framed. And no one cared enough to listen because to them, it was easier to believe a black man guilty than to believe he was innocent. Trial was quick. The accusations stacked against him. The prosecutor sneered, "Ladies and gentlemen, this man is not who you think he is. He's a criminal hiding behind children." Joseph looked at the jury, at the children crying in the back row, and he whispered, "I only wanted to protect them." But his voice was drowned out. The gavel came down that day. Life sentence. No parole. And just like that, everything he built, every sacrifice was ripped away. For 20 years, Joseph sat in a cold cell. 20 years of silence, of whispers in the dark, of wondering if the children he raised ever found peace. His hair turned white, his back bent, but in his heart, he clung to the memory of their little hands holding his. And now, here he was again, in court, older, weaker, and about to vanish forever. But just as the gavel was about to fall, we pause, because the story doesn't end here. This is where the past collides with the present, where secrets, pain, and love finally break through the cracks of injustice. And in the silence of that courtroom, the sound of footsteps begins. "Wait!" The words echo. Everyone turns. At the back of the courtroom, two figures stand. A man in a navy suit, his jaw tight, and beside him, a woman in a pink blouse, her eyes wet with tears. The judge frowns. "Who are you?" The man steps forward. His voice is steady. "I'm Daniel. This is my sister, Grace. 20 years ago, this man took us in when no one else would. He raised us. He saved us. And today, we're here to save him." Gasps ripple across the courtroom. The prosecutor slams his hand on the desk. "Objection. They have no place here." But Daniel's voice grows stronger. "He fed us when we were starving. He kept us warm when the streets would have killed us. He sacrificed everything. And he went to prison for a crime he never committed because no one wanted to believe a black man could be a father to two white children." Grace steps closer, her voice trembling. "For 20 years we carried guilt. We were kids, too scared to speak up. But now we're grown. And we will not stay silent anymore." The room is electric. The jury leans forward. The judge looks unsettled. Joseph raises his eyes for the first time. And they meet Daniel's. A tear slips down his wrinkled cheek. The lawyer for the defense, stunned, clears his throat. "Your Honor, we have new evidence. Testimonies. Proof that the original conviction was built on lies." Files are handed over. Old police reports. Hidden tapes. A sheriff's confession long buried. Piece by piece, the puzzle unravels. The prosecutor tries to fight. "This is absurd." But the truth can't be buried forever. Grace places her hand on Joseph's trembling arm. "Dad, hold on. We've got you." The hearing stretches on. Every word, every revelation, strikes at the chains that bound Joseph for 2 decades. And finally, the judge lowers the gavel. But this time it isn't to condemn. Case dismissed. Joseph Carter. You are free. The courtroom erupts. Some cheer. Some cry. The old man collapses into his children's arms, sobbing. "I thought I lost you," he whispers. "You never lost us," Daniel replies. "You gave us life. Now it's our turn to give you back yours." And for the first time in 20 years, Joseph walks out of the courthouse a free man. Not alone, not forgotten, but with his children, his family, by his side. The moral is clear. Love has no color. Courage has no age. And truth, though buried, always finds a way to rise. This is Elliot Stories reminding you that no matter the darkness, light will always find a way. Visit Elliot Stories for more inspiring stories, and see you in the next one.